41 new single-family homes are coming to West Orange. The Ocoee Cemetery to undergo beautification. West Orange water polo team helps Matthews Hope. And a child in our community could use your help. The date is January 27th, 2022. We're going to go through these stories and more. Welcome to West Orange on the Go. My name is Austin Arthur, and this is where we do local news and comment. And when I say local news, I mean hyperlocal. West Orange. This is your news. We begin in 10 seconds.
You're listening to West Orange on the Go. Brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.
With endorsements from neighboring residents, a plan to add 41 new homes in West Orange breezed through the Orange County Commission on January 11th. The commission approved the preliminary site plan for the Lake Roberts Reserve, which calls for up to 41 single-family homes on 78 acres west of Windermere Road, north of McKinnon Road, and south of Stony Brook West Parkway. Some residents who live along the road attended the meeting and spoke highly of the project. Robert Watson, who has lived on the road for about 35 years, said the small road was never maintained by the government and the work had to be effectively done by the residents themselves. Now, I'd like to note that this is not on city roads, but Orange County roads. According to the developer, the project will provide more than $4.5 million to directly benefit the adjacent residents on the road in terms of road, water, and other such improvements. In Ocoee news, the city commission there approved the Ocoee Cemetery Beautification project during its January 18th meeting. The project is part of a plan to expand and clean areas of the Ocoee Cemetery to bring it back to a higher standard. Presented were planting stronger trees, such as oaks, that have a better chance of surviving a storm and beautifying the landscape by removing lower branches and dead limbs on existing trees and older trees. Now, another step to be taken is curbing regulatory violations. City code states that anything other than flowers, grass, and headstones are not allowed to be present on gravesites. Now, there's a full story in the paper with more details on all these stories. Now, just remember, here on West Orange on the Go, this is where I'll skim through some headlines. I'll read parts of the story, and I'll add my comment sometimes. This is local news and comment. Now, where you can get the full stories is in the big red boxes. They're all around town. Now, they're totally free. It's a classic newspaper, the real deal. Or if you would like to visit our Facebook page, you can see live stories there, always popping up live in real time news stories. Now, one story I'd like to point out that's in this week's paper that I won't have the time to go too much into, but I'd like you to check it out, is Daniel's Cheesesteaks. Okay? So I don't know if any of you have been to Daniel's Cheesesteaks, but they're right there on Plant Street. And let me tell you, with my cheesesteak, I like mushrooms, onions, the caramelized onions. I like it all. My wife, she doesn't like the mushrooms. It grosses her out. I don't know why. It's crazy to me. But for me, I love the mushrooms. I love it all. I get everything you can, cheese. Daniel's Cheesesteak has been there for a long time. They do a great job. And Amy Quessenberry did a full write-up on them. So there's a full write-up in the paper on their history, their family. And I encourage you to check it out. It's a great locally owned restaurant, cheesesteaks, here in Winter Garden. Great family, great business. Now, stick with me to what I call the final page. That's where we'll do the final segment. Sometimes it's an article. Sometimes it'll be a message I have. But stick with me to the final page because this week, there's something very important that we can all be doing to help out a little girl in our community. But now this, many student athletes are making a positive impact by doing something simple as making a meal for someone who may only get one meal for that day. The West Orange Water Polo team partnered with the West Orange Junior Service League to make bagged meals for people at Matthews Hope, a a charity operation in Winter Garden that specializes in helping the homeless get back on their feet and reintegrate themselves into society. The team distributed the meals on January 18th as one of its charity events for the season. The head coach, Jennifer Daylor, said, quote, "We've helped them in the past before, car washes, raising money, helping clean and organize their storage. It's Winter Garden giving back to Winter Garden," end quote. She also said that one of her goals is to help raise good humans. And I think she's doing just that. So thank you to Coach Jennifer, doing good things in our community. Let's take a look into our sports high five for this week. Number 1, Foundation Academy's Braden Holcomb was named one of Major League Baseball's top 25 prospects for the class of 2023. He was previously named in the top 5 shortstop prospects for Baseball America and has already expressed a verbal commitment to play baseball at Vanderbilt University. Number 2, West and Southwest Orange County cheerleading teams took center stage at Bishop Moore Catholic High School in Winter Park for the regional championship tournament on January 22nd. Dr. Phillips, Foundation Academy, and Windermere all emerged victorious in their divisions. All 3 schools now automatically qualify for the state finals in Gainesville, Florida. Number 3, Foundation Academy's boys soccer won its final regular season game 2-0 against International Community on January 21st. The Class 2A District 5 tournament begins January 27th with the Lions to be the second seed in the tournament behind the first-seeded Eagles. Number 4, the First Academy's Jaden Hugins scored his 1,000th career point during the Royals' January 21st basketball game against Bishop Moore. He leads the team in points, rebounds, and steals per game as the Royals come down to the last few games of their regular season schedule. Number 5, Horizon Girls Soccer finished its first regular season with a tie game against Edgewater January 21st. With that, the team gets ready to play its next game January 27th in the first round of Class 4A District 7 playoffs. Fellow first-year school Lake Buena Vista is the 4th seed in the district tournament and will play Lake Region January 27th at home. Now, last week I told you that we were missing somebody in the sports news, and that was only because we had to get some new games under the belt, and that was Foundation Academy. So you heard them in this week's news and the sports news, and now you'll hear some more news from Foundation Academy because they broke ground recently on a new expansion at their Family Church Lakeside campus. The new building is part of the church's Build campaign and will include a 15,000 square foot addition. The space will include 8 new classrooms, a large space for chapel and weekly activities, office space, and a reception area. The expansion will also free up additional space that will be converted into a library and science lab. Lakeside Principal Amanda Donahoe said the new building will allow the campus to expand its grade levels to reach a larger scale of students. Although Foundation Academy Lakeside is currently kindergarten through 2nd grade, the campus will be adding both 3rd and 4th grade this fall. Now, Foundation Academy is my favorite school. It was founded here in Winter Garden, but they got 3 beautiful locations now. My daughter goes to this school, and they are also a sponsor of this program. The best private education in West Orange. Foundation Academy, where character matters. And there's actually 2 touching stories. I won't have time to get into both of them, but I certainly encourage you to go online and check out Miracle Miles. Now, this is an incredible young man who was born premature, under 2 pounds when he was born. They truly didn't think he would make it. But Amy Questenberry has a full story on him, and I really would like if you check that story out. A very encouraging young man. But now we're going to go ahead and move into the final story as we enter into the final page segment. It started off with what seemed like a cold. Our mother said multiple doctors agreed it was probably just a cold. But her symptoms were not dissipating. They were getting worse. The child's name is Alina, and her mother said, quote, "I noticed some big bruises on her body, and we thought maybe it was from playing. Her lymph nodes started to swell up, and this was also alarming. And it all pretty much started at the same time." After her mother noticed red spots on Alina's neck, she looked up all the symptoms and discovered that it could be leukemia. She said that she was hoping that Google was just scaring her. But a trip to Arnold Palmer confirmed the worst. Alina had cancer. Alina was considered a high-risk patient because 92% of her blood cells contained cancer. She immediately underwent surgery to have a port inserted so she could start chemotherapy. She had blood transfusions and gave frequent bone marrow samples. Her parents said she lost her appetite and wasn't getting enough nutrients, so her hospital visit lasted a month. She went home the first week of November, but was only there for 2 days before she spiked a fever, reaching 104 degrees, and she had to go back to the hospital. Her father said, "I felt like I was going to lose my daughter." Doctors determined she had developed a staph infection, and so they stopped the cancer treatments to treat the infection. The family was hopeful she would be home by Thanksgiving, but she was in the hospital for another month. In December, she resumed chemotherapy only to contract COVID-19 just before Christmas. Because their daughter's immune system is compromised, the parents and their 3 children had to stay home, aside from twice weekly visits to the hospital. This week is the bone marrow test to see if Alina is in remission. Recently, she got well enough to play with her younger brother and sister and Daisy, their mini golden doodle. Her parents say that their faith and their prayers have helped the family through this ordeal, and they have watched their community rally around their little girl during their fight with cancer. Before the winter break, Oakland Avenue Charter School held a superhero day in honor of Alina, a kindergartner. Students could donate $1 to dress up in costume. Families gave so much more than that. The family was presented with nearly $3,000. In addition to the funds, parents have been sending activities and toys to school to give to Alina so she can go into the hospital with them for her treatments. Quote, "God's asking us to share our story, and we got the support, and we need the prayers. And the community has been so great to us. It's really great to see a community come out and support and pray for you." Her parents said that Alina was so scared to let anyone near her port to administer medicines and that the nurses had to hold her down. Her father told her that God was helping him get through this and that God could help her too. Quote, "We pray together now. We're going to pray for courage and strength and for them to do what they need to do." On the way to the hospital, she called Grandma and she called my dad, and they prayed together on the phone. He said Alina was so proud of herself after the hospital visit. Quote, she said, "Papa, I didn't feel anything. The nurse didn't have to hold me down, Papa. It's God. God made me strong. I believe in God now." You know, in the midst of this uncertain and very scary time, the father closes with this quote, "Our family, we are very fortunate. The faith of this family is strong, and I believe God is with them. But we must help. We must help by responding to their request. They ask for prayers. I encourage you all to pray for little Alina. Actually pray for them. Take a moment and do it. With God, all is possible. This has been Austin Arthur with the West Orange Times and Observer. And until next week, have a happy and blessed weekend.
West Orange on the Go is brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.